I was so nervous to get on here. A lot of people do not know who I am. My name is Candace Holmes-barnes. I'm 37 years old. I was born in Columbia, Missouri, and I was raised in Denver, Colorado. I'm actually getting on here to hopefully get the word out there about what I've been through, how I've changed, and what I'm trying to do today. I'm hoping that this word that I speak, that comes from my heart and my soul, that comes from truth and comes from realization, because I've been there. And I'm hoping and praying by the end of this, it will allow people to be saved from certain situations and change their life for the better. So make this video go viral. I'm a single parent of 4. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, 9, 11, 14, and 15. What I am going to say to you may offend a certain individuals, the way I may talk, or the way I may speak, or the way I may curse. But at the end of the day, I speak from within. I speak from my heart. I speak from my soul. And I speak from experience, because I know what it's like. I'm hoping that this video goes viral and allows somebody in this world to be saved by what I'm about to say to you. Because in a lot of ways, and a lot of things that I've been through in my life, I've had to learn the hard way. Certain situations happened to me in my life where I had low self-esteem. I was sheltered. I was depressed. I didn't tell my story because I was afraid. I was afraid of what people were going to say about me. I was afraid of what people were going to do and say, and how I was going to be humiliated. And I wasn't ready at the time to share my story. I choose to share my story today with everybody in this world because I want to write a book about my life, called My Life, My Hustle, My Struggle, My Dream. Because the things that I'm about to say to you has happened to me really, 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 really. And it has made me be a better person. But the hurt and the pain and the guilt and the homelessness and whatever it was I had to do, it wasn't worth it. I'm just going to start off by saying I started off living in Columbia, Missouri when I was born, after I was born. I moved to Denver, Colorado around the age of 2 or maybe 1. I never knew who my father was. I was raised by my stepfather and my real mother. As a matter of fact, let me take that back. My biological mother. And at this time, in certain situations we had to go through in our life where we had to see certain things that most children should not be allowed to see or have to experience or have to go through. And at this time in my life, I am okay with sharing my story and getting the word out there, because at the end of the day, I feel like if I can just help one person and just get the word out there, I feel like I've helped somebody. I was raised in a home where certain things weren't allowed to go outside of our household. Certain things we weren't allowed to do. I watched my biological mother go through abuse. I watched my parents on drugs, drug parties, drug dealing. And the abuse to my mother was devastating and heartbreaking. As a child, I'm not going to go into detail because it's not important, but I was molested as a child, and I didn't know how to deal with it. But when you have certain situations, or you're in certain situations, you have certain parents that are on drugs, induced with drugs. They don't seem to want to deal with real life experiences or real life lessons that you may be going through. So children either don't talk to them or they don't want to listen. From about 5 till 7, me and my sister. Heartbreaking to not knowing that in my mind, I'm thinking this is normal and this is what people do. It didn't come clear to me until I got off into foster care and I got everything taken care of, and I was 12 years old, and I found out it was not my fault because I was a child. And when you reach out to parents and the reactions that you get closes a person up inside. It makes them afraid to talk to the next. It makes them afraid to talk about what's going on with them. It makes them afraid to come and speak to you as their parent because they don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to feel, how you're going to react. See, certain situations I had to deal with the hard way. When I say we were in an abusive home, me and my oldest brother, who's only a couple years, maybe 4 years older than me, we were the only ones really abused in that house. Because we were his stepkids. We weren't his. We got beat down. To the point where I hated my real brothers and sisters who were his kids, birthed by my mother. Because I had no understanding as a child why my brothers and sisters weren't getting whooped. But me and my oldest brother were, because we weren't his kids. But at this time, I'm just a kid myself, so I don't really understand and know what's going on. I just know that as a kid, I rebelled. I just know that as a kid, I seen, done, and heard a lot of things that I was not allowed, should have never been allowed to see. In my home, it was loving. My biological mother was the perfect mother. Even going through abuse, even going through drug abuse, even going through having to deal with her 2 older kids getting abused. Dinner had to be served on time. And it had to be hot. And it had to be cooked the way he wanted it. He was allowed to work. My mother was not. She was allowed to stay at home and raise us as a mother and give us the care and the nurture and the love that we needed. So even through her addiction, she was allowed to overcome that situation and put that drug use to the side and take care of her responsibilities as a mother. And she tried hard. I remember sometimes seeing my mother walking with her downtown when we were living in Denver, Colorado. In the projects, I'd say it was Mariposa Street. I remember the same exact address I lived at. 1063 Mariposa Street, Denver, Colorado. And we walked in the cold with my mother to go get groceries. And I watched my mother be abused that morning because of nothing serious. And I seen her with 2 black eyes. And she put those glasses on and she cried inside. And walked with us and didn't show no pain. So I thank my mother for being a strong black mother. I thank my mother for allowing me to see and go through and experience with my own eyes firsthand before I traveled down this wrong road myself. I remember there was a time where my mother was abused so bad she went into the hospital and I didn't see her for like 2 weeks. We didn't see her for like 2 weeks. And my stepdad was doing her hair every day and it was horrible. But I'm telling you, when the day came that my mother shut that shit down and said enough is enough, this man is going to kill me or he is going to kill my children and it is time for me to get the fuck out. She got us up out of there. And it took everything up in her. So 9.5 years of my mother's life, she went through nothing but heartache, pain, hurt, suffering, domestic abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse. The pain is real. The hurt is real. It's a damn shame. So I seen these experiences firsthand. I remember living in Denver, Colorado, and there was a man who robbed a bank, and he threw all the bags of money into our complex area. And I don't know if my mother or my stepmother know this, but I seen him throw it over there. And I seen the police keep on chasing him like they didn't know that the bags, these were old-fashioned bags. He just robbed a store or a bank or something. And I was a kid. And he threw the money over there. And I remember my stepdad picking it up. And all of a sudden, we moved. There was parties every night. We drug dealing. My daddy's a glass maker now. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen things. It's crazy. I've seen how we lived in the projects and there was a lot of Mexicans. And there was a lot of gangs. And my older brother wanted to be in a gang so bad and just be hip, cool, and just there. And I wanted to be cool. But I'm only like 6. I don't know what the fuck to do. Shit, let me throw some of this sign language and make it seem like it's gang signs and then see who lets me into their facility or their committee or whatever it's called. But I remember seeing there was this Mexican lady. I loved her. She had a disability granddaughter. And her daughter was going through an abusive relationship. And her other daughter was on drugs and abuse. They were beautiful Mexicans. I'm talking about Jennifer Lopez, Christina. Beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful. And I just thought they were the world. Like, I just want to be just like them. But this Mexican She took care of these kids, of her grandkids. And she allowed us to come into her home all the time. And she showed us love and support. And she knew the pain that we were going through. And she didn't ever talk about it. And she never brought it up. But she always brought us in. And she fed us. And that was the best Mexican food I ever had in my life. There was another Mexican lady who would make these Mexican burritos. I'll never forget them. We used to buy them all the time. And I still remember the taste, the craving, and the desire, and the hope, and the seriousness that she put into the food. It was the love that she put into the food. And it was so amazing. And I still remember. I wish I could make those burritos to this day, because they were bomb. But anyways, she had 2 daughters. And one of them, I remember, she was being dragged out of the car by her hair. And she had on heels and a skirt. And this man was dragging her. And he's beating the mess out of her. And it's about 40 Mexicans come out. And everybody just started fighting. But it was just like, no one gets involved with certain situations like that. Like, we don't want to see. So we ignore it. And we just peep through the window. Dang, that's really going on over there. Oh, girl, look, he punched the shit out of her. Eager. But we didn't say anything. We kept to ourselves. That's not our business. That's not our place. And we are children, so we learn to stay in our place. Even though my mother and my parents were on drugs, they still act up if you want to in front of us and embarrass us if you want to. You're gonna get beat the fuck up after they gone. But you know right from wrong, and when I tell you when to do something, you better do it. And when you don't do it, when company comes over there, that's when you know you're gonna get your ass whooped. That's how it was in my bad day. And we just had to go on about our merry fucking way. I remember there was a lady named Sally. And I had a tutor named Gwen. And I can't remember this lady's name. But she was the best thing that ever happened to us. And these people, 1 was black and 2 were white. And they came and got us. And that's the only time we felt secure and safe, is when we were with these people. And they brought us into their home. And they allowed their children to play with us. And allowed us to be a part of their family. And allowed them to come and help us with our homework. And to take us to the museum. And to, just have fun on a Saturday. Because that's how dangerous and crazy it was in Denver, Colorado, in the projects. So that brought security, and I was safe. And I remember these people. These people were lovely to me. And I will never forget them. I remember things as a kid. I remember my Uncle Benny getting beat with a hammer in the alley by these men because he had pulled out all this money, and he was, they acted like they were his friends, and they were drinking with him, and they took him for granted and took him in an alley and beat him so bad with the hammers, like 8. And he survived that situation. I remember he left the hospital in his nightgown. No underwears on, no pants, no shoes, no socks. Denver, Colorado, it's summertime though. We were kids sitting on the porch laughing. All of a sudden we see this man in a nightgown with some bands on his arm walking down the street. Doo-doo-doo. I had to get the fuck out of there. I needed a cigarette. But that man was supposed to be dead. But by the grace of God and his mercy, he saved that man's life. And when he saved that man's life, I was able to believe in God. That's a miracle. That's a walking testimony. That man got up and walked after a couple of days. That ain't nothing but the God. That ain't nothing but the grace of God and his mercy. I remember there was this homeless man. I mean, no, he wasn't homeless. I'm sorry. He was blind. But that motherfucker counted his money. He was a dope dealer. He was blind. And he even robbed a few people we knew. How the fuck a blind man rob somebody? And people scared of him. I remember the old man named Homer. I know he was in his 80s. That man was so old, but he was groovy, man. He wore that motherfucking cowboy hat with that cowboy motherfucking belt. And he was our landlord, and he lived next door. He was a drug dealer, the landlord, the party man, the I don't give a damn, the dancer, the laughter, the jokes. He was amazing. That nigga was a pimp. He didn't give a fuck. He'd beat your ass. He'd shoot you. You know what I'm saying? This man was, what's up? That was my nigga. That was my dude. So I wasn't raised in certain situations where I had to learn how to act a certain way, or think a certain way, or play a certain way, talk and walk a certain way. I was raised to stay in a child's place and be a kid. I was raised to stay out of grown folks' business and stay in a kid's place. But sometimes not everybody is allowed to or can do that because kids they want to know what's going on. We are nosy. We want to know what the fuck is going on. So that's hard to do. Especially now today in our generation that we live in today. It's ruthless. This generation is not the same as what it was when we were growing up. These kids today are ruthless. They can be so heartless. They can be judgmental. Bullies. And this is why I'm telling my story, because I am trying to change myself and break this cycle now so I can make my children's life and their future way better than what it was for me. My mom was able to show us love and affection when we were kids, when he wasn't there. When my stepdad wasn't there, life was good. I loved it when he was at work. Go to work. Never come back. But that's the hate I had built up inside of me for a man that I seen as a monster. And I knew one day that he was going to take my mother away from me. I remember asking my dad, stepdad, do you love my mom? And he said, of course I do. I said, then why are you trying to kill her? Are you going to kill my mom? And that's when he was laying down. He had just got beat up by some Mexicans down the street. I don't give a damn. I'm glad they fucked you up with a bat. Beat the fuck out of you. Now you know how it feels, punk, to put your hands on my mama and show no respect or dignity. My stepdad he was horrible. He was so mean. Me and my oldest brother got beat with extension cords. And he loved to get this thick-ass white belt. It had about 6 holes for the belt buckles. And it was white. And he would dip it in steaming hot water. And he would make me and my brother just strip down. Put our hands flat on the bed. And we better not cry. And make a sound. And better not move until he's done. And all my mother could do was sit there and watch, and to see her pain and to feel my pain. That made me flammable as a kid. But the day that my mom got the courage to leave that man, I'll never, it was the best feeling. The story ain't really about my mom, so I don't want to bring too much of her information up because, for one, me and her are two separate people. We've been through certain situations down the same road, but we have certain situations how we think. Right now, I'm to a point where I'm okay. And with her, she'll have to deal with that in her own time when she's ready. So it's not my place to tell her story until she's ready. But the day my Uncle James Holmes came and picked us up from Denver, Colorado, was the best day of our life. So I thought. So we drove from Denver, Colorado here. And I loved it. I love the fact that we was around family. And that I love the fact that now we're not at a place where we don't know anybody. We don't have any family in Denver, Colorado. This is all his family. We have to deal with his life. So now we're around our own family and life is good, it's comfortable. But when you get here, things are not the same and things are not told the way they were told before you got here. So with that being said, we went through homelessness. We went through apartments. So at 9 years old, we moved down here. I'm 9.5, I'm going on 10. From 9.5, and this is where my life changed. And so when I start telling you this story, I just want you to know that this is not a drug addiction thing that made me think or do certain things. My mother was on drugs really bad. And I wanted to show her any type of attention. I didn't give a damn what I had to do. I just wanted love. I just wanted her to love me. Because now we're not around my stepdad and it's just us. But there's something very hard to do when you're drug induced. And there's something very hard when you're going through something mentally, emotionally, and physically, and no one knows what you're going through but you. So, I was taught at a very young age how to steal. I knew at a very young age how to put groceries, clothes, in grocery bags, fill the cart up, have a long grocery list, and walk out the store. And you keep walking, and you don't stop. At 9 years old. That's what I was doing. But at first when I started doing it, I was thinking that it was for our family, which some of it was. But then it got to, oh my God, it's for drugs. And this is not the way that I am trying to get my mother's attention. So, I started out going to school. And then it got to the point where we were living on Redwood in Columbia, Missouri. And my mother started leaving us for days at a time. And then it became weeks at a time. And here I am. I am there's 6 of us. So I think at this time. And at this time, my oldest brother has just rebelled and has run away because my mom has taken him from Denver, Colorado, out of the gang life, away from his girlfriend, from the trichomonas that was there, from the chlamydia, from the crabs, from everything. Because his road was leading him down to a road of destruction. So I was the oldest, watching my 4 brothers and sisters. It was Gerard, Charlene, Shanika, and Jasmine. And I'm 9, bro. From 9 until 12, I am raising these kids like they're my own. So I want to say, yeah, I actually kind of do thank my mom for teaching me how to survive in the streets, because that made me responsible, that made me okay, and that made me know that I'm able and willing to take care of my brothers and sisters. I thank my mom for allowing me to sit in the kitchen when she's cooking and to watch every move. I'm talking about how many times she would mix her cake mix, how many times she would flip her burgers, how many ingredients she put into this, and how much love she put into that food that we were able to eat every day. So, with all the kids that she had, I was the oldest, girl. So I have to do what I do. I know how to clean. I know how to change a diaper. I know how to cook. I know how to put you out of bed, do your hair, put you in the bath at a young age. So, for real, in a lot of ways, I feel like some of the things that I went through in my life and some of the things that I've had to do as a child, I'm glad that I went through them, because now I'm more experienced and now I know what to do. And it helped me with growing up in life. I don't know why I'm so adamant, but everything that I say that comes out of my mouth right now, I don't want to miss a beat, because this is my real life, true life story. So with that being said, I had to deal with the CPS always coming to my door, knocking on the door, asking for my mother, leaving notes, and we would never answer it. I had to deal with our lights being cut off and the water not on, and us not having nothing. I lived through my neighbor's son inappropriately touching on us. Me. I lived through, okay, take it out on me, but don't touch my brothers and sisters. I don't care what you do, but just don't hurt them. So I did everything in my power to protect my children, which is my brothers and sisters. And y'all, I'm sorry, but so I got to make sure I get everything out, because what I'm trying to do today is change. What I'm trying to do is help. What I'm trying to do is share my story so it can get out that life is hard. And we live and we learn. And we try to think of certain situations and learn how to deal with them. I'm sorry I normally don't do this, but I'm about to smoke because I am not about to stop this live video. Because I want you guys to know just how desperate I am to get my word out there. And I don't care about who talks about me. So this is why I choose today to share my story and get it out there. But anyways, I sent my brothers and sisters to school every day. I was the only one not allowed to go. Because for one, they're looking for me now, and they're looking for my mother, and I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to say? So I just don't go. So I grew up with a learning disability. I wasn't smart. I remember having to wear dirty clothes, the same clothes. And I remember getting picked on as a kid. And I remember people talking about my brothers and sisters. And I remember people talking about me. And I hated school. I hated people. I hated my mother. I hated life. But is that a reason to give up? No. See, in a lot of ways, I was able to raise my brothers and sisters and give them the love that I wanted my mother to give me. So that made me stronger and made me show a lot more love when I had children of my own later on in my life. So I remember being I remember the last day. So we had got evicted from Redwood. We ended up going to a shelter. And I remember 2 weeks before this happened, it was like we had just got here and been here for a few months. My mom says, I had a baby. We're at the shelter. They call it shelter. I had a baby. It's a boy. But it passed away. I'll be home tomorrow. Damn. When was you pregnant? We had no idea because my mother, just like me, was able to hide her pregnancy for months, 6 to 9 months, without people seeing. That's why we didn't know. So 2 weeks go by. They call me to the office 10 minutes, 5 minutes before this bell rings. I was at Benton Elementary. And we were at the homeless shelter right around the corner. And I remember coming in from the trailer and going into that building. And I remember seeing my mother. She was crying and she was holding my brothers and sisters and just crying. And there were 2 Caucasian ladies there, and they brought us outside and they said, can you please come here? And they told us a certain situation that we're going to be taking you for a few days until your mother gets herself together, and then you can come back, da-da-da-da-da, and you're going into foster care. So I looked at my mother. I looked at my brothers and sisters. I looked at these Caucasian women, and I turned around, and I looked down the street, and I started to say, run! But how can I run away from my family, from my brothers and sisters? And I'm the oldest. So it was 2 cars. My mother held us. She kissed us. It's not important about what happened. But from that experience, I was traumatized. No, I'm going to go ahead and say it. From that experience, when we got in the car, my mother hugged us, and she said, if If anybody's going to be mad at Candace because she did this. And so for years, it took me a long time to understand that it was not my fault because I am a kid. And that it's her fault because she is a parent. She is a mother. She is an adult. And she is on drugs. And she's not using her brain right now. So, me, Gerard, Jasmine get into one car. Charlene and Shanika, as babies, get into another car. And they're crying, and we're crying, and we're pulling, and we're screaming, and we're hollering, and we're kissing each other. And then all of a sudden, we take off. They ask us if we want some ice cream, just to calm us down because we're all crying and we're holding each other. And we pull up to get ice cream. And then all of a sudden, we pull up to the Rainbow House. And they go in and they say, stay right here. And we're crying, oh my God, where are we going? I want to go home. What is going on? I'm trying to explain, it's okay. Calm down. I got you. We're going to get through this. God's got us. But I'm not. Or no, I'm 12 at this time. Because I went into foster care at 12. Yes, I was 12. I was 12. And 2 weeks had went past. And all I know, we pulled up to the Rainbow House and they go in and they come out with a baby. This baby, they come to the car and they say, this is your sister. Her name is Jacqueline. And she's 2 weeks old. That was the first time I laid my eyes on my sister. That was the first time that I knew that day that when my mother made that phone call to me and told me when I was in that shelter that that was my brother and he passed away and she's on her way tomorrow, that was a lie. And I was hurt. So then we get to foster care. And here this beautiful lady is with this heart of gold named Sonia Bernice Barnes. Hold on. So Charlene and Shanika go way out in the country somewhere to some people that think that we all get high. We kids, but we all get high. And doesn't allow them to come around us. We barely got to see them, but maybe once a year. And that was for a couple of hours for Christmas. We weren't allowed to talk to them for real. We didn't have that relationship with them. But with Jackie, Jasmine, and myself, and my brother DJ when he came along, we were raised in the same household together. So our bond for one another is different. So all of us, 9 brothers and sisters, don't have or don't share that same bond as normal relationships, as normal children do, as brothers and sisters do, because we were all separated. Charlene and Shanika went to some place and they were raised. Me, Jacqueline, Jasmine were raised by Sonia Barnes. Gerard went to different houses and shelters because he didn't want to be there. And he didn't understand why he's doing this alone. And he doesn't have his brothers and sisters anymore. But then one day, this nice, beautiful Caucasian lady ended up taking my brother in and adopting him. and raising her as his own, as her own, with all her other foster and adopted kids. And he loved it. But with that certain situation and that certain things that we went through in our life as growing up in foster care, I went through a lot of things. I had to go through, I'm living in a place where, for one, I don't want to be here. For two, where the fuck are my brothers and sisters? For three, why am I here? Why hasn't my mother came to get us? Why isn't she fighting? What is going on? Can somebody please explain? Why are these people in my face talking about you're my brother and you're my sister and no, I'm not? Yeah. So when I was 12, that's when I started going to therapy, because my attitude, my anger issues, everything that I'm going through on a daily basis, through a daily life, and everything that I've been through so far as a kid, and I'm only 12, I don't know how to deal with this shit. And so this nice lady, Holmes-barnes, allowed herself to take the time out of her life to help me in every way that she could, to get me the help that I needed. Because right now, I didn't care about life. Right now, I didn't care what you said. Right now, I don't care what you think. Or what you try, or stop trying to love me. What is love? Why is love what it is? I don't understand it. As a matter of fact, I don't like it. But that lady was able to help me. She got me through counseling. And that's when things started happening. Because the things that I had inside of me that I was going through, no one knew about, because I was too afraid to talk about them. Because growing up as a kid and I'm talking about them, I got backlash. I got talked about. I got beat. So that's when I went to the hospital. That's when this lady took the time out to take me to the hospital to make sure I was okay. Luckily, as a kid, nothing was busted. But the pain and the hurt and what I felt, I just will not be able to get over the simple fact that it was not his fault. You're not even a grown-up. You're a kid yourself. So what was it going on in your life that made you do this to me? So that's when I was able to go to court, point him out, press charges, reevaluate and rebuild my life. That's when I started writing letters to my mother while she was incarcerated and telling her in deep thought about how I would never turn out like you, how I hated you, and this and that and the other. I will never be like you, this and that and the other. That's because I had never experienced what she went through, because I was a kid and I didn't know any better. But now that I have been through all situations that she has been through in my life, I am able to say, I know for a fact she tried everything in her power to do everything that she could to get herself together before it was too late. That I do know. But because of certain situations and because of the drug-induced coma that she was in and that monkey that she had on her back, she was not able to think clearly and to think about who is important at this point in time. But I know for a fact that every time she took a hit, she thought about us. She cried for us. She pained for us. She urged for us. Because I've done the same thing when I was in my addiction, when it came to my family and my children. And the things that I wanted to do. And the things I was scared to do. Because of the warrants or because I wasn't ready. So I do want to apologize to my mother, my biological mother, for putting all this on her. Because, baby girl, it's not your fault. We all in this together. Now I know we all got a story. It's just what we do with that story. And right now with my story, I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed anymore. I don't have low self-esteem anymore. I'm not depressed anymore. I don't have panic attacks and anxiety anymore. Okay, yes, I do, but not when it comes to things like this. I'm not afraid of criticism, any type of criticism. I'm not afraid of your personal own experiences. I'm not afraid of what you say or how you talk to me or what comments you leave. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what you think or how you feel. It's about me, my personal experiences, and what I want to do and how I want to share my story, to get my story out there. And right now, today, I choose to tell my story because I've been there, done that, and I know how it is to not have anybody. So yes, I know exactly what it's been through, mother. Damn. And it took me all this time to realize it. You guys, this is just chapter 1. This is just the beginning of the life I have lived. And I am doing everything in my power to get my word out there. So I want it to go viral. I want to see, I want to feel, I want to hear people's comments. I want to see and I want to think and I want to feel and I want to know, what do you think about what I'm doing?